Hey guys, Shelly asked me to make a little video on the mermaid crowns, so just bear with me, I'm not used to talking on video. So the headbands that I am using are these ones. I've bought them at Walmart in a pack of 3. I believe they were about $4 or $5. You can get skinnier ones, but I find these ones are better as a base for what you're working on. And then what I usually do is I have some craft foam that you can get at like AC Moore. And depending on how big you want to make the crown, you can cut the foam and make it even a little bit wider than what your headband is, so that you have a bigger base to glue on. Another thing that I do is I actually made a pattern like that. And that's actually, I traced the inside of one of the headbands the best that I could. I kind of got a piece of paper and I kind of traced it and did like a basic outline all the way around, and then I cut it out and then just kind of went over it so that I use this as a base when I'm gluing my felt on the inside. But if you wanted to make, you would need to make something for the inside if you wanted to cover it, to cover all the glue and stuff. So, so for some of the ones that I've made, I actually extended and used the craft foam for this one because it's a little bit wider than the regular headband. So you can see the difference. It's hard to get this one in there, but the difference is I added the craft foam to this one and I just glued it in with the hot glue gun. I believe there might be another one. I'm not sure. This one I actually made on a different base, which was this base, but I don't recommend this one at all. I bought a couple different headbands, but this one actually is more breakable. So I'm going to tend to use these for the flower headdresses, which would be a lot lighter. But for this one, what I did was I tried to use it because I didn't want to waste it, and I took the craft foam and I actually covered the whole thing. I measured the width of the widest part, and then I just cut a whole strip of the craft foam that I covered on the top and the bottom. It's definitely not as pretty, but that's how I made this one. So this one's a lot thicker because I used the craft foam, and it was hard. You could see like it all in here, and I had to cover it with more felt. So this one was a little bit harder to do. It's a little bit less flexible, I think. It's easier if you just do it on a regular headband. So you get your headband, and if you want to keep it small, then just glue your shells directly onto, just pick out whatever shells you want. I have a bunch of shells in this basket, sorry. I have a bunch of shells in here, a whole bunch of different kinds. So you just pick out the ones you want and any pattern. I recommend doing that first. And then you can just start gluing them onto the headband. Or if you've added the craft foam, you would do that first, obviously. You could make it a little bit higher up here if you have a big shell that you want more support for. Okay, so once you've glued all your base shells down, you want to glue all your biggest base ones down first, which is what I would do. Like these big ones would go down first. Okay, once you've got them all down, then you have to just plan out how you want everything to be. So like you can add anything you want pretty much. So I have some of these like crystals that I bought at AC Moore, and I have a whole container of different types that I had bought. They're actually it's not AC Moore. They were at Michael's, and they were in a section, I think the brand was Sedona, and it would come in a strand of like 10 for like $10. So you'd want to get them when you can get a coupon. But there's all different kinds. So if you want to use the crystals, you can, or if you just want to glue in more shells, that's fine. It's whatever you want to do. So this one, I glued these 3 first, and then you just start filling in with what you want to what you want to put in there. So you can use pearls, and you can use crystals, And I would fill in all the little cracks with beads. So the beads that I get are in these kind of tubes. They're like seed beads. There's different sizes you can get. I have found that the small ones are actually easier for getting into all the cracks, but they make more of a mess. So it's kind of tricky. So what I typically do is I have a kind of flat tray. This video is not working very well, but I have like a flat tray. It's actually like a baking sheet. And then I just put like a towel down. And then I put it on my lap. So when I'm gluing, I hold it over and I'll put my hot glue on there, and then I'll sprinkle the beads on top. And then it'll be easier to then you can kind of go like this, get all the beads, and then that have fallen, and you can scoop them back up into the tube. So that's the way I found it to work the easiest for me without them flying all over the place. So, yeah. So you have all your supplies. Make sure you have all your supplies out, because once you start working with the glue gun, you're going to have to move pretty quickly. I also recommend if the glue gun starts to get too hot, take a break, because especially when you're doing these little beads, I noticed with the glue gun, there might be an easier way or a better glue to use, but I haven't found it yet. So when you're using the glue gun, when it gets really hot, everything starts to like separate, and you got to kind of push all the beads back together, and it can get really messy. So I find that if you let it cool for a while and then start over, it's easier to work with. So once you've got a lot of things glued onto the front, like here's another one that I use, like turquoise and pearls, then you're going to start filling in the cracks with the smaller seed beads. And that's like, for some of these, that's why the smaller ones actually work better, because you can kind of get into like the cracks. This one I actually used moss to cover the edges. This one's pretty light, just because I wanted to do something different, because I got tired I didn't have any more green beads for that one. This keeps going in and out of focus, so I'm sorry, it's not the greatest. Okay, let me mount this back up on the tripod thingy and hope it doesn't fall over. Okay, let's try some more. Okay, so this is another one. These one I actually painted the shells first. So if you want to paint your shells, you can do that. It's hard to see in the video, but there's some green and some gold and like different shades of blue. So I had painted my shells. I made sure they were dry, and then I believe I might have sprayed this with a lacquer first. I can't remember, but they're probably fine as long as you're not going to be too rough with it. And then I went in and I glued some of the bigger things, and then so I'd glue the next thing I would glue would be like the bigger stones or bigger shells. Then you're going to go around and fill it all in with the seed beads. Sorry, this is really hard to do with a video. I can't, my phone is in like the wrong spot. So then once you filled it in with the little seed beads, wherever you want to go, you just put hot glue and sprinkle the beads on there. Then I would go in and accent with the other stuff. So then I would put in a couple more little pearls on top, or a couple crystals, and fill in with a couple of the other things, around the edges. If you see any glue that's sticking out, you can, stick something on there and kind of fill in the crack. Let's see if I'm trying to show you all of them. This one I added a couple fake flowers to, just to do something different. See, there's a bead that fell off. So the problem is that some of the beads are falling off, so I'm not quite sure how to solve that yet. Maybe a coat of Mod Podge or something to seal it, but I'm still undecided about that. So on some of these I went in and I added glitter. So once you've gone in and you've added your beads and the pearls and any little accent shells you want to add, if you want to add some glitter, you can. And what I would do is I would take my hair dryer, and so you can do this even if you find that there's gaps. Like I would take the hair dryer and heat up, just blow it on there on hot a little bit to kind of melt the glue, and then I would kind of squish everything back together or fill in a couple seed beads, or I would add my glitter. So you can do that just to kind of fill in the cracks. And I think from a distance, everything will look great. I mean, if you look up really close, you're going to see a lot of mistakes. I mean, that's just how it goes. Because I haven't really figured out how to do it properly yet, but I have another one somewhere, but I don't remember where I put that one. These are all the ones that I've made so far. And then it's good if you have a lot of variety of different kinds of shells. And these beads that are the bigger ones, I think the number is 6 is the size. See if I can find it on here. Of course, I have to tap it so it goes in focus. All right, let's put this down. You won't focus that close. 6-0. So these are the bigger. These are the ones that are a little bit bigger. The ones that are the small mini ones, I think, are 10. So like these ones, you can see the difference. These are a 10, I believe. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use both of them when I make my next crown and just combine so it looks like there's different textures. I'm going to combine the small beads and the big beads. But yeah. So you pick a color scheme that you want to do. Go to AC Moore and get some beads. There's all different kinds of beads you can get. A tube of beads is probably around $3 or $4. And depending on how many beads you need, you might need 2. So like this one, if you see, is completely covered in beads. So I use probably at least 2 tubes of beads for that one. Whereas the more shells you can get on there to cover it, then the less beads you need to fill in the cracks. Okay. So now when you've gone in and you've done pretty much everything you want to do, you don't have to do this step, but this is kind of what I did because I like to finish it so it looks kind of clean on the inside in case I wanted to sell one. So I get my felt. It's just craft felt, and I'm not sure if I have any close by to show you, but you just cut it according to what the width of the inside is, or you can use, if you made a little pattern, you can do that, and then you go ahead and hot glue that to the inside all the way down across. Okay, this one's a little messy inside, but I think they're all pretty messy. So then what I would go and back and do is I would clean up the edges or the tops of the headband, and I would add more beads to them. So that would be this would be like the final steps. Like after I had gone in and put all the beads on there, you glue your felt down, and then you would see the edge. I mean, if you want to leave the raw edges, you can, or you can go in and add the beads to the top. So this one was done pretty sloppily. You can see that. Let's see if I can get this in the right position. This is really tricky. There's still a lot of glue cracks here, and I got some beads on top, but it probably was really hot at this point, and all the beads were sliding around. But then you would just go along the top, just work in little increments. You go along the top with the hot glue gun, and you sprinkle your beads on top. They're all going to fall, and you're going to all kind of have to push it back in, and then when that cools, you come and work on the next section. So that's what I did in here. So it's basically to cover the edge of the felt. So I went in and did all that. This one I actually went in and covered the back of the shell so that I wouldn't get shells stuck in the cracks here. But you don't have to do that. I think this one was left open. So this one, like if I sprinkled beads in there, they'd get stuck in there. But this one was made on that other headband with the craft foam, and it was a lot wider. So this one was actually a lot trickier to cover. I had to just cut a skinny strip of felt and just glue it along the top. Let's see what this one I actually had covered with fabric, and I found that to be really tricky, so I didn't use the fabric again. This one I had made a total mistake, and I didn't like the design, so I ripped the shells off, but you know, the hot glue is still there. I ended up cracking the shell here on the inside, which is the reason why I had to add another shell. So if you make a mistake or if you do something you don't like, if the glue is still wet, you can remove that quickly. So you can see there's a crack there in the shell, a little tiny one, but it's actually totally broken on the inside. So I had to just add some glue just to kind of hold, hopefully everything stays in place. So yeah, the fabric didn't work as good. The felt seemed to work the best out of everything. But yeah, I can see here you can see the craft foam on the inside because this shell didn't lay flat. So I actually had to add a little bit of craft foam on the top of the headband so that when I rested the shell on there, it would be flat more. Okay, so those are your steps. You get your wide headband, and if you want to make it wider, you just add the craft foam to it first. Then you start gluing your biggest shells down. Then fill in the areas with whatever else you want to put in. If you want to put more shells there, or if you want to put gems or small shells or crystals, then you do that. Then you go in and you add your beads, whether you want your bigger beads or your small seed beads. You fill in the cracks with that, with the hot glue. Then you can go in and add your accents, like little gems and pearls and crystals. Then you go in and you add your glitter if you want glitter. You can even use Mod Podge and just paint like Mod Podge on it and then sprinkle your glitter on. You can probably add a coat of Mod Podge after. I don't think I did. I'm trying to remember. When I added glitter to these ones, I just kind of heated it up with the glue gun, with the hair dryer, and then just kind of sprinkled it on. Again, you're going to get probably some bead loss because I haven't figured out how to avoid that yet. This one, I think I actually used the Mod Podge for these when I added the glitter on these ones. I just painted some Mod Podge on it, and they dried clear. This one's got a lot of glitter. You can get all kinds of glitter at the craft store. So let's see, I feel like I'm missing something. Let me think for a second. You can go ahead, so when you're completely done, like this one, I'm going to actually add some starfish, I think. I had to buy starfish so that I can add them. I mean, I have a bag of starfish here, but I wanted smaller ones. So you can still add things afterwards if you decide you want to do that. And that's pretty much it. Oh, the hair combs. So the one I had bought online at Etsy, hers came out really nice. This is what it looks like with the hair combs on it. Okay. She even added little crystals on hers. And she added the felt on the inside and covered all the beads along the top. And then what she did was she added the combs after I talked with her. So she glued the combs, she glued the comb in, and then she glued another piece of felt on the back just to cover it up because that was just, you don't want it to be sticking out. Some people make their crowns where they put an elastic band, like a piece of elastic on the back. And at first I thought that was a good idea, but after talking with the lady that made these, she particularly said she didn't like the elastic on the back because it doesn't look as pretty. Whereas when you're just wearing this, you know, you just see the crown. You don't see anything along the back. So it is a little prettier. So I just went ahead and I bought a bunch of combs off of Amazon. They're a little bit bigger than hers because I couldn't find the exact same comb. But these combs come in a pack of 3, and I believe it was like $5, approximately $5. They're just wire hair combs. I think if you search like wedding stuff, you can find them. I recommend the ones that are like looped at the bottom because they're actually pretty comfortable. You can buy like cheap hair combs probably from Walmart that actually have a point on the end, and those are not as comfortable. They'll stab you in the head. So I recommend these. I got these on Amazon. So I got 2 packs, and I still have to add them. So I'm going to have to add them to all of my crowns, and then I'm going to have to cover it with another piece of felt. So I think that's about it. I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, just send me a message on Facebook. Have a good day.